Hello Potters, welcome back to the Pottery Plus studio. I have something kind of unique for us today. I'm gonna do kind of a guided throwing step-by-step tutorial just with my voice. So the intention of this video is that you can put it on and just listen to me kind of guide you through the steps of the generalized steps of throwing. I will be throwing along with you in the video, but it'll just be there for you to glance at if you need like a visual clarification of what I'm saying. But it's really there for it to be something you can use as you're throwing. So a lot of times, like the tutorials that I make, you would have to kind of watch it separately and then maybe revisit it as you're doing the process from the tutorial. But this is really designed to like be there right with you and guide you through the process. Now, this video, I feel, has a very specific target audience. Of course, all are welcome. Stick around if you can use this video at all, if you think it could be useful to you. But I would say if you have been taking classes and you're going to go and sit down and try to throw by yourself for the very first time, this might help you. Because when I was a teacher, I would notice that people would just forget the steps. And, you know, guys, it's a lot of steps. So this is kind of intended to avoid that, you facing that issue. Also, if you've thrown less than like a dozen times, like if it's just still very new, even if you are having instruction or when you're with a group or whatever, you could maybe pop this on your earbuds and maybe it would help you. So I'm excited to go get on the wheel and get started, and I hope you are too. So let's head on over. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I've got about 1 1/4 pound of clay for this little, what do you want to call it? Throw along with me. And I'm going to get that attached to my bat. You can look and see how I'm doing that, but it's not really so much important that you're doing the same thing as me, just that this is our first step, is getting it really nice and securely attached to the bat. However you do that, that would be our first step. And then we're just gonna center this. Again, whatever centering techniques you've been learning or using, and that's gonna be our next step. And I have a very curious puppy in the studio with me today, so if you see or hear her, she's just hanging out. And I'm just going to give you a moment to center, because I know sometimes, especially when we're learning, that can take a bit of extra time. So I'll just sort of hang out, let you work on that a little bit, and then we'll move on, okay? Okay, awesome. Next, we're going to begin to make an opening. I do this in 2 parts, but if you have been learned a different technique of opening, please feel free. This is not really a technique-specific video. This is just to guide you through the process. But what I do is I use my finger here to just make a little indentation on the top that my thumbs can rest into, because I'm about to go straight down with my thumbs and there's quite a lot of pressure on that step. So I like to give myself like a little resting point for my thumbs. But again, however you do that, now would be the time to begin drilling down and making that opening. This is a good moment to check your floor if you have been doing that or practicing that. Check I think that was about to there. You can check the depth of your floor at this step and decide if you need to drill down more. Or, if you feel you've gotten it too thin, you can kind of work around it and know that you might need to baby it a little bit. So to check the floor is always kind of a good step there. Next, I'm going to start to widen my opening and create a floor on the bottom. So depending on what type of form you're making, your opening step might look really similar to mine, or it might look really different. What I'm doing is I am keeping my thumbs really flush to the bottom of the pot, and I'm squeezing my thumbs towards my palms. That's what my opening step looks like, but again, yours could be really similar or really different depending on what you're making. And then I just really like to take a moment friends, to finesse the floor, no matter what style it is. Because when you have really good access to it like this, it's much easier to like get it compressed, get it sorted out, get the floor in the shape that you want, without having to reach your hand down in a pot that's been thrown up who knows how high. I'm going to give you a minute to work on that. I'm going to kind of finesse mine a little bit too, and then we'll move on here in just a minute. You got it? Okay, cool. Let's move on. This next part is a step that I don't think everyone does. So if this sounds weird to you, maybe just chill out for a minute, or maybe try it with me. I don't know. But what I like to do before I start pulling walls up is I like to get my pot into as close of the shape that I'm going to ask it to go to as I can on this step before I start pulling walls. So for me, I'm going to do a cylinder on the wheel right now, and so I want to get my walls straight up, and right now they're really kind of flaring out, and they're pretty rounded. So what you can do is, and friends, again, this applies for any type of shaping that you want to do, you're just going to apply some pressure with the sponge, or just with your fingers, or whatever tool you have, but you're basically going to apply pressure to push whatever part of your pot so far is not going in the direction that you want. So again, I want my pot to go straight up because I'm doing a cylindrical form, but if you were working with a form that needs to go more down and out, like a plate or a real wide shallow bowl, you just kind of want to get the clay set up so that when you start pulling the walls and moving the clay around more, it's going to sort of cooperate with that shape. Okay. And we'll just take a second here. Sometimes that can take a minute to get all sorted out, so take your time. We'll move on here in just a moment. Okay, I'm back. I had to go make sure my puppy wasn't causing mischief. She's at that age, so just wanted to check on her before we go on. All right, let's pull some walls. We're at that point now. I'm not going to talk too much about the technique that I'm doing because if it's not the same as yours, I don't want it to throw you off. So I'm just going to kind of speak through some generalities here as we pull some walls together. So for the most part, any technique you're using, you're going to squeeze at the bottom and move your fingers, well, thumbs and fingers, slowly up and all the way off the top of the pot. Did you see some movement? I did. Maybe not as much as I would have liked, but I think I've mentioned before when I'm shooting videos, I have to work around the camera and the lights, so I can't always look at the same angles that I always want to get as good of a grasp on things, but I did get some movement out of it. I hope you did too. I'm gonna stop and assess. Maybe you want to do that with me. Like, I'm gonna feel where I might have thick or thin spots, and kind of know what to expect before I even do my second pull. And, you know, in very classical fashion, I've got bulk down at the bottom. You might too. So this time I'm going to focus my pull, squeezing kind of that excess that is at the bottom and kind of dropping it off on the way to the top. Kind of trying to even that out. And all the way up and off. When you get to the top, make sure that you come all the way up and off, sort of maintaining like the rhythm or like the flow that you're using as you're moving up the walls too. It's tempting, I think, when we get to the top to want to have kind of a release feeling and we sort of let go too quick. Sometimes it can knock things off center, but if you can really keep it slow and steady all the way up to the top, I know it's hard to do sometimes, but if you can really stay steady all the way up and off, I think you'll notice it really helps. From here, you have to kind of take the reins. I'm feeling like I could do a couple more pulls, and I know that pulling can go quickly or really slowly depending on where you're at in the process. So I'm just going to hold here for a couple minutes and let you sort that out, work on it. Just remember, don't pull just to pull. If you aren't sure why you're pulling, stop and assess. Like, do you have bulk that needs to be moved up? Or is the whole pot overall just feeling a little thick? Are you wanting to kind of, just move around any area of bulk, whether it's to thin it out or move bulk into a thin spot? There's lots of different, little very nuanced moments why we would need to do another pull, but just make sure that you know your why. Okay, sometimes it feels really good when you first get that sensation of pulling and we just kind of do it over and over because we're like, oh, I'm getting it. And that's awesome. If that's the place you're at, stay, play with it for a minute. But if you're wanting to kind of get past that, yeah, stop and assess, figure out exactly what each pull is for. And I'm just going to play around a bit while you're working on that. We'll talk about some generalized finesse steps here in just a minute, but then that's going to finish up this guided throwing activity. If you want anything more specific or in depth like this, where it's more of a vocal lesson of guiding you through, let me know, because it's been really fun planning this and thinking about this. So if you have other ideas for something similar, I always love to hear feedback. So if you have any, let me know. All right, I'm gonna let you finish up your pulling, show you maybe a couple things you can do to sort of smooth things out before you might be adding shape into your piece, and then that's gonna wrap it up for me. So from here, I've been adding a lot of water to my pot, so I'm gonna make sure and get the bottom nice and dried out. Remember, if there's water setting on the bottom of your pot and you forget to leave it there, it's gonna eat through the bottom of your pot, so you always wanna take care of that. And then I'm just gonna sort of smooth out my walls. This is a really optional step, but I guess what I should be saying here is this is a point to do a little bit of finesse. Not all of it, because if you're gonna put any shape into this pot, you're gonna be kind of putting finger marks back into it and things like that. But I always like to just take a moment here, clean things up. And I'm gonna do a really shallow little version of some trimming here, just to get a little excess off. This is a nice point to do that as well. Because sometimes you have excess that's just such a little amount, it's not worth doing another pull up and, through the entire walls of the pot, but you can kind of just take a moment and clear some of it out. And potters, from here, your creativity really takes over and you make it your own. Now's when you can shape it, add decoration to it, leave it plain. It's really up to you where you take it from here. Let me know what you thought of this video or if it helped you. And I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I hope that your wheel time today is, it doesn't always make us happy, does it? I hope that you're getting some satisfaction, maybe some growth. I hope you're getting value of it one way or another, whether it's one of the frustrating days or one of the days where you're just like, on top of the world. Have a great rest of your day, potters, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.